Have you ever caught yourself mid-sentence using a tone, a phrase, a reaction, and felt a cold recognition wash over you? Not because of what you said, but because of who it sounded like. And for a moment, something inside you went very still. Because becoming that person, or even resembling that person, is the thing you have spent years, quietly and deliberately, trying to avoid. Psychology says this fear is one of the most common and least spoken fears that adults carry, and what lives inside it is far more complex than simple dread. It is grief, love, loyalty, and identity all tangled together in a knot that most people spend a lifetime trying to understand. 1. The fear is not really about becoming them, it is about the parts that already feel familiar. Developmental psychology shows that the terror of becoming a parent is almost never about the possibility of a complete transformation. It is about the moments of recognition, the flash of impatience that mirrors theirs, the tone of voice that sounds identical, the emotional response that arrives from somewhere old and automatic. These moments frighten people not because they prove inevitability, but because they suggest inheritance. And the question underneath the fear is not will I become them, it is how much of them is already inside me, and do I have any say in what I do with it? 2. They have been self monitoring for years, and it is exhausting. Research on intergenerational trauma shows that people who fear repeating a parent's patterns often develop an intense and continuous system of self surveillance. They watch their reactions. They second guess their instincts. They pause before speaking in ways others never have to. They are hyper aware of their own emotional temperature because somewhere they learned that emotions left unchecked produce damage, and they have appointed themselves the permanent guardian against that damage. This vigilance is not neurotic. It is deeply rational given what they witnessed. But it is also an enormous and invisible weight to carry through every single interaction of every single day. 3. They love their parent and resent them, and feel guilty for both. Attachment psychology is precise on this point. The children who fear becoming their parents most are rarely the ones who feel nothing toward them. They are the ones caught in the most complex emotional territory: love that is real, and resentment that is real, and grief for what should have been different, and loyalty that persists despite everything. They do not want to become this person, and they do not want to betray this person, and they do not want to admit how much this person hurt them, and they do not want to lose this person. All of these feelings exist simultaneously, without resolution, in the same chest, and they have for years. 4. They chose their life partly in reaction to theirs. Research on reactive identity formation shows that many people who fear inheriting a parent's patterns make life choices consciously or unconsciously that are defined partly by opposition. They chose a different career, a different parenting style, a different relationship with anger, with alcohol, with money, with affection. They built themselves in part as a deliberate counter-architecture to what they grew up inside. And while this produces real and meaningful differences, psychology notes something important: an identity built entirely in reaction to something else is still organized around that thing. The escape route still leads back to the origin, and real freedom requires eventually building towards something, not just away from it. 5. The traits they fear most in their parent are often the traits they understand most deeply. This is one of the most quietly profound things psychology finds in this pattern. The reason these people are so frightened of a specific quality, the rage, the withdrawal, the need for control, the inability to apologize, is often because they understand it. Not intellectually, viscerally. They know what it feels like from the inside because they have felt versions of it inside themselves. And that familiarity is what terrifies them, not because it means they are doomed to act on it, but because it means they cannot claim the comfortable distance of incomprehension. They are close enough to understand, and closeness always carries more risk than distance. 6. The fear, if they let it, can become the most powerful teacher they have ever had. Psychology documents something remarkable in people who carry this fear consciously and honestly. When the dread of repetition is met not with suppression but with genuine self-examination, when a person is willing to look at where the pattern came from, what it served, what it cost, and what it would require to interrupt it, something shifts. The fear stops being a source of shame and starts being a source of information. Every moment of recognition becomes not proof of failure, but an invitation to choose differently. And choosing differently, even once, even imperfectly, even in a small moment that nobody else witnesses, is how cycles actually end, not with grand declarations, with one quiet, conscious decision at a time. If you are terrified of becoming your parent, Psychology doesn't call that paranoia or ingratitude or the sign of a damaged relationship. It calls it love for the people who will know you, for the person you are still becoming, and even, complicated as it is, for the parent whose patterns you carry and whose life you are still trying to understand. The fact that you are afraid means you are paying attention. The fact that you are paying attention means you already have something they may never have had the willingness to look. And looking honestly and with compassion for yourself and for them is where every different story begins. If this reached somewhere you rarely let anyone go, subscribe. Because on this channel, we don't just talk about who you are. We talk about who shaped you, what they passed down, what was never theirs to give you, and what you are quietly, bravely, imperfectly trying to build in its place. That is the most important work a person can do, and you don't have to do it alone.